Hello and welcome to episode number 50 and the Christmas edition of the Rose Bros podcast. Hopefully this episode finds you safe and healthy with friends and family over the holidays. This episode, James and I, the other Rose Bro, sat down to discuss the beginning of the Rose Bros book review. Starting with The Big Goodbye Chinatown in the Last Years of Hollywood, our plan is to read one book per month, roughly, and review it on the podcast. Chinatown is the Holy Grail of 1970s cinema, and The Big Goodbye chronicles everyone from Jack Nicholson to Roman Polanski and Robert Evans, and how the cinematic masterpiece came to be. A great movie and hopefully a great book, so stay tuned. We also got an update on the status of Jimmy's new book coming out in the coming months. Check back in about a month or so for the official review, and enjoy the following conversation. All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. Jimmy and I are sitting here with a glass of wine. We've decided to start a book review. Our first book is going to be what?
It's called The Big Goodbye Chinatown in the Last Years of Hollywood by Sam Wasson, New York Times best-selling author.
Our plan is to review one book per month, and this is going to be our first one. We're both going to read it and check back in a month. Why did we pick this book, Jimmy?
Because you gifted it to me for my Christmas present.
But we're
also very much interested in the subject matter.
Yeah, it's a great subject. You've always had an interest in it.
Chinatown is the Holy Grail of 1970s cinema. Its twist ending is the most notorious in American film, and its closing line of dialogue the most haunting. Here, for the first time, is the incredible true story of its making. In Sam Wasson's telling, it becomes the defining story of the most colorful characters in the most colorful period of Hollywood history. Here is Jack Nicholson, at the height of his powers, as compelling a movie star as there ever has been, embarking on his great doomed love affair with Angelica Huston. Here is Roman Polanski, both predator and prey, haunted by the savage death of his wife, returning to Los Angeles, the scene of the crime, where the seeds of his own self-destruction are quickly planted. Here is the fevered deal-making of the kid, Robert Evans, the most consummate of producers. Here, too, is Robert Towne's fabled script, widely considered the greatest original screenplay ever written. Wasson, for the first time, peels off layers of myth to provide the true account of its creation. Looming over the story of this classic movie is the imminent eclipse of the 70s filmmaker-friendly studios as they gave way to the corporate Hollywood we know today. In telling that larger story, this book will take its place alongside classics like Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, and The Devil's Candy as one of the great movie world books ever written. The New Yorker said, Wasson is a canny chronicler of old Hollywood and its outsized personalities. More than that, he understands that style matters, and, like his subjects, he has a flair for it.
Why do you think Chinatown was such a good movie?
Why did I like it so much?
Yeah.
I liked it because, Jack Nicholson is just one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
Usually, if he's in a movie, I end up liking the movie that I end up watching with him starring. It's happened more than once. Really good cast, really compelling setting and time. That's an interesting period, I find, in the Depression and 1930s Los Angeles, much smaller city than today. And I like film noir. I haven't seen, truth be told, too much of it, but the few that I have seen, I really like that sort of style and ethos and approach to telling a story and through film. And I like noirish fiction too. Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett. Mm-hmm. I just recommended The Big Sleep to our cousin. He wanted to know what a good mystery would be. Mm-hmm. And The Big Sleep is a classic. It was written by Raymond Chandler in the 30s. I think he or Dashiell Hammett or one of the others, he's considered like the dean of that sort of writing. And The Big Sleep was made into a movie with Humphrey Bogart, which is a really good movie. So I think in Chinatown they were trying to go back to that period of storytelling, 1930, because Dashiell Hammett and the guy who wrote Raymond Chandler, they were living in LA in the 30s.
Yeah.
I think one of them was San Francisco, might have been Hammett. So there's like a real noir 30s California murder mystery genre, and then Chinatown, the movie, was made in the 70s, and they were trying to go back to that era. And then so I just thought it was great dialogue, well paced, great characters, just a great movie. I could talk all day about movies.
I mean, to me, Robert Evans was just kind of this, when you read about that guy, he just seemed like he was the icon of the Hollywood good life for a long time. He had it all.
Well, what do you remember exactly?
I mean, he used to read scripts by the pool. That was his job.
And he wouldn't go to an office.
No.
He'd work from his bed in
Yeah.
Beverly Hills. And there's photos in that book we've both read of like Dustin Hoffman and some bombshell actress playing tennis in his backyard.
Yeah. Apparently he was the character in Entourage. They modeled Bob after Robert Evans.
Yeah.
So things didn't really work out too well for him in the end. But
there's another one of those larger than life producers. His name's Jerry Weintraub. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
He's since passed as well. But Jerry Weintraub actually managed, he didn't manage, sorry, that was Colonel Parker, but he was the booking agent for Elvis Presley before he became a movie producer. And he just talked his way into that job through chutzpah and wit. Jerry Weintraub produced like The Oceans before they...
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have read about that
There's
guy.
a documentary about him. Really good.
Interesting. But that era just seems
The larger of life independent producer.
Yeah.
Maybe they still exist. I don't know. Scott Rudin.
The Coen brothers, sort of.
Well, they're directors and writers, they're not producers. I don't know that scene too well, but I will once I start this program at the Vancouver Film School.
Right.
January 4th. I think. I think we do get we learn about the game and what's going on in Hollywood these days.
What's interesting to me is there's so many narratives within that narrative. Polanski, for instance, he had already fled the U.S. and come back.
I don't know.
Did he flee the U.S. and then come back to write or produce Chinatown?
He got extradited or something to do with
his
murder.
wife was killed. But then
Sharon Tate and all that.
Did he flee the U.S. after Chinatown or before?
I think. But it was a good movie. It was one of my favorite all-time movies. It's set in 30s L.A. It's noir. It's Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett-esque. It's about a private eye who's investigating a case of adultery, and it leads to conclusions that he never would have dreamed of getting himself involved with. Jack Nicholson, John Huston, and Faye Dunaway, and Polanski's in it too. Okay. Robert Towne once said that Chinatown is a state of mind. Not just a place on the map of Los Angeles, but a condition of total awareness, almost indistinguishable from blindness. Dreaming you're in paradise and waking up in the dark. That's Chinatown. Thinking you've got it figured out and realizing you're dead. That's Chinatown. This is a book about Chinatowns. Roman Polanski's, Robert Towne's, Robert Evans, Jack Nicholson's, the ones they made and the ones they inherited, their guilt and their innocence, what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they could do nothing to stop. Ben Affleck optioned this book. He wants to make a movie out of it.
Did you ever read the book Robert Evans, or that was on Robert?
Stays in the picture.
Yeah. Did you read the whole thing?
My book.
Did you actually read it though?
I read it, and then I watched the documentary that was made off it, based off the book about Robert Evans.
That guy seemed like he had an amazing life at times until it all fell apart.
Yeah, I think he said in his documentary, you live and die by the sword that is the newspaper media, because he got that job at Paramount. He was like one of these unknowns who at a young age was tapped by the owner of a conglomerate that had just bought Paramount Pictures in the 70s, and Robert Evans got the job as head of the studio. And under his leadership, movies like Chinatown and The Godfather and a bunch of other classics were made. So he was legendary. And then he got busted for cocaine trafficking in the 80s, and his life just fell apart. And then he had a stroke later. Anyway, it was a total rise and fall, very dramatic.
Chinatown, the movie, it's such a creative process. It's just so hard to understand where it came from. Like, everyone always tries to dissect it. Do you think it's possible to dissect a creative process like that?
You can, whether it's effective dissection or not, that's another question.
Yeah. Do you think they even knew what they were doing at the time?
Maybe not.
That's like Will Smith, his first Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't think he even knew what he was doing at the time. But it's the best. It's just the best work he's ever done.
You didn't like Hitch?
The creative process is so hard. You can't formulate it.
That's why that's the good thing about creativity,
right?
It because it can't be formulated. That's the beauty of it.
But it's sad in a way, because these guys, you look at them now, and like Robert Evans, he fell off the map, and he couldn't repeat it and grow it.
But why do we have to?
It's you think
it's a different. We're in different petri dishes right now. Right. This isn't like we're in a different sort of wavelength or different. We're not talking build and scale and all that.
Right. It's different. It's
we're
a one-time thing.
Art is about expression.
One time only. Sometimes.
Art. This movie and this book is a form of expression. Whether it resonates with a wider audience, whether it's a hit, that doesn't.
In a way, it's sad though, because they can't build on it.
They did do a sequel.
Yeah, but
there was a sequel to the movie. It didn't do as well.
And then they tried to redo things later in the later years, and I read through it a little bit, and they tried to redo things, and it just, for whatever reason, it just didn't fly.
But why can't we just let something be on its own and just move on? Why do we have to do 7 Fast and the Furious?
For instance, Robert Evans, he couldn't really ever reignite that flame. I guess he did The Godfather, but it's just sad he couldn't keep it up. Kind of just flamed out.
But the other thing is, it's a team effort. He produced a script that was written by Robert Towne. Mm-hmm. Robert Evans didn't write the script.
You go from the very, very top.
I'm not going to agree with you on this.
You don't think
No, I don't think it's sad. I mean, it's someone's career. Maybe they hit a few home runs. That's more than what a lot of people can ever dream for.
Do you think there's been other films like that?
Just great movies?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched one a few weeks ago. It's called Paris, Texas. Just incredible.
Up there with Chinatown?
It's really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Coen Brothers?
Anything they do, I think, is Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Inside Llewyn Davis. You seen that one? No. It's about the folk singer in 60s New York. One of your all-time favorites, I know, is Goodfellas.
Yeah.
There will always be good art.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you can't dissect the creative flux that happened to make Chinatown. It's not possible.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, maybe that is a good thing.
Because as soon as you try and do the repeatable low-risk thing, that's when you get into Marvel, DC comic territory.
Even the first 2 or 3, The Godfather, that was Robert Evans.
Yeah, the first 2 are masterpieces. The third one wasn't good.
Mm-hmm. You think it's that way with books?
Good question. I guess what you're asking is, are series generally good? Yeah, I find that with books, it seems like a series will always work. Or there will always be books in a series you'll like more than other books, and there will always be clunkers in there, but you at least get to know the characters more, right?
Mm-hmm. Character development.
Yeah, you can see more, learn more about a character. I mean, I just wrote it's a prequel to Chung Piece, and it was fun for me to write more about this character, right? Mm-hmm. And I think maybe readers will come to appreciate the whole story more when they get more information. Mm-hmm. In particular, how a book is structured. If you've got a cliffhanger ending,
I mean, Harry Potter was good.
Yeah,
1 to 7.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
they got better.
Not everyone liked all of them.
Films, it's tough. What movie franchise that goes 1 to 7 has been good?
Yeah.
It's odd.
Unless you're just really a big fan of, like, well, some people are just such fans of Star Wars, for example, that they like them all.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Not me, but my former boss was that way. He liked everything. Yeah. Every Star Wars, everything.
Jack Nicholson obviously made a career out of, he was just a good actor and made a career out of it. Maybe part of it is just the fact that not everybody involved with Chinatown, for instance, was as skilled as Jack Nicholson.
It was just a combination of everything. The screenplay, the direction, the cast, the timing.
Mm-hmm.
It hit.
It happens in a lot of things. Business, sports. You get a lot of factors.
Perfect storm.
Yeah.
So the way that the book club shows are going to function is we will talk about the book, and then at the end we will introduce the next book. So then it will give listeners a chance to read it as well and listen in.
If anyone's listening and they want a book, want us to read or that they've read already, just send me an email, Trevor@rosebroscoffee.com, and we'll do it. What are you reading now?
I'm reading The Hot Kid by Elmer Leonard. It's an outlaw story set in 30s Oklahoma.
Okay.
Depression, prohibition. It's a very entertaining read.
Is he contemporary?
Yep. Yep.
How'd you find
I
him?
mean, he passed away years ago now, but he was one of these guys who's written 60, like as prolific as Stephen King. Up there.
For a Luddite like me.
Yeah, he's insane. And style, unlike anyone else's. He broke rules with grammar. Several of the movies have been made into movies.
Anything else you want to talk about? We'll talk about your new book when it comes out.
Run for Roses.
Do you want to give a brief intro?
It's a comic novel about two cousins on a road trip from New Orleans through the South to the Kentucky Derby in Louisville. A mentor or a dear friend of the family to them, they get this unexpected phone call while they're at the Jazz Fest in New Orleans. They had no plans of doing a trip beyond Jazz Fest. They were going to fly to their respective homes afterwards. They get a call from one of the cousins' mother, calls early in the wee hours while they're still on Frenchman Street partying it up the last night before they're supposed to go home. She says that Von Rotz, that's the character, Von Rotz is on his deathbed with late-stage cancer. And then they walk home, and then the sun rises, and they're sitting on the step of their shotgun shack hostel in the French Quarter. And they say, you know what? Why don't we try, because Von Rotz had a sailboat that he won with winnings from one of the derbies in the 80s. He had to sell that sailboat to help pay for experimental treatment for his cancer down in Mexico. Didn't work out. So he lost his boat, his beloved boat, which was his home. And now he's in and out of the hospital. So the two cousins go up to see if they can win money betting on the Kentucky Derby to buy back the boat for Von Rotz. Okay. And they dedicate their trip through the South to him. And they dedicate it in a way that they think he would want them to do it, which is to see, do, taste, drink, everything. And so it's comic. It's just a kind of a yarn more than anything. Yarn.
It's somewhat based on our trip to the South about a year and a half ago. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to read it.
Trevor and I did that. We drove from New Orleans to Louisville. Well, we had that planned out. It wasn't like we did it. But anyway, it was a great trip, and it did give me ideas for this novel.
Yeah. Loosely based on that trip.
Very loose.
If anyone reads the book.
Very, very, very loose.
But it's coming out soon, and when is it out?
It's going to be out in the first half of January. Not entirely sure.
And you can buy it on Amazon?
Amazon. It's going to be only on Amazon for print. There's going to be an audiobook, Spotify and iTunes, and it will be available on Kindle. So exclusive through Amazon this time with this book. Always. It's just going to be on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. Print and Kindle. An audiobook will be Spotify, iTunes. So there's going to be a playlist to accompany it with the songs, the music that we were listening to.
Really?
Not we, but the characters in the story.
Do you remember when Drake, that song came out and the guy, what was the name of that song? The guy who collaborated was from New Orleans?
Frida.
Yeah.
It's they. Big Frida is they.
Oh.
Yeah.
That always reminds me of that trip when that song plays.
It was the big smash of 2018. It goes to show how ephemeral hits are. I can't even remember the name, but it was ubiquitous back then.
Nice for what?
Right.
Yeah, that was the soundtrack, at least in my mind, to that trip, but not for your book.
Well, we did listen to our fair share of blues, if you don't remember.
Yeah.
Blues. And
driving through Alabama.
We listened to a lot of great music.
So that's what the book's based off.
Mm-hmm. So that book's out, and then be focusing a ton on writing screenplays and so on to school.
You're starting a writing program at the Vancouver Film School.
Mm-hmm.
In other news. That's cool.
Writing.
For a year.
Yeah, for a year.
The book will come out while you start the program.
Yeah. And then I think I will start a new novel I'll try to just kind of slowly write one while I'm in school too. I would like to do that.
That's cool.
Just keep busy.
Always self-publishing on Amazon? Or are you going to try and get...
Well, for Run for Roses, yeah. I'm going to try this Amazon Select program and see how it goes.
What about an agent?
Why not? I'm going to just try this first, see how the reception is, and then go from there. And then reach out.
Right on. Well, I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
Run for the Roses coming out. We'll review The Big Goodbye in about a month. Sam Wasson. It's the beginning of the Rose Bros Book Club. Is that what we're calling it?
Sure. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
We'll be back in a month. Cheers. Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you liked what you heard, check out rosebros.ca, where we will have upcoming shows. You can also find our coffee and chocolate there, where we plant one tree for every bag or bar sold through our partnership with One Tree Planted, a cool not-for-profit organization focused on global reforestation. Until next time, happy coffee drinking.